Hi, everyone. Today I am happy to have Michelle Spiva as a guest on the podcast today. Michelle is a best-selling sci-fi author as well as writing in other genres, and her story is super unique. And so I was just excited to have her on the podcast today. And she'll be able to encourage many other indie authors who are starting from scratch. And so welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you for having me, Lorna.
Oh, this is gonna be so fun. So I've already gotten to know Michelle a little bit in our pre-chat, and so hopefully she'll share some of the some interesting things that we were just even discussing food, and I know people that are listening love talking about food. But first off, would you just share your story, like your background, and then what was your inspiration, to write and then to become an indie author?
Oh, sure, sure. My route is circuitous. I mean, when I say circuitous, circles, honey, circles. I started out thinking that I was going to be this great teacher, orator, that kind of thing. And so I was a lover of school. Don't ask me why, but I mean, I stayed in it and started out where I was doing nonprofits, teaching Christian ed and counseling.
Yeah.
And because the degree I got was pastoral, of course, sometimes I'd have to teach from pulpits and things like that. But I work for churches and nonprofits, and they can't really pay you that much. And so I always lived this dual life because my undergrad was in business. I had a grad degree in education counseling, and then I had to go back and get an MBA so that I could work and pay for the pleasure of serving others in nonprofits, counseling and creating curriculums for advocational stuff, for people who wanted to learn different little things. And so I did that, and corporate America was just not for me. I should, I say this, and I fooled around and read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, okay.
And it opened my eyes, and I was just like, that is what's wrong with me. I don't want to work for anybody. And it wasn't that I didn't want to work. I just didn't want to work for anybody because people think that I'm very extroverted, but I am what they call an ambivert, meaning that I can do both. I'm a hybrid of extrovert and introvert, but my tendency is to want to be left alone to do my thing. And in corporate America, they love meetings. They love for you to need them. They love for you to just, oh my God, the touchy is just too much. And so I'm a slow learner, and it took me 20 plus years of doing that to finally get so burned out that I couldn't take it. So between doing a lot of the counseling and teaching on, and by this time I'm doing like 30 hours of that. And then full-time working, by this time, I'm now a senior financial analyst, having to be in the weeds and analytical. So I was switching from analytical to, the creative back and forth. It was horrible. The economy, of course, was having its trials. And so 2000, I lost my job.
Oh, okay.
And I had to, start over. And by 2007, I was working for a very large airline company, left there because the stress was just too much, and went to a smaller company thinking I would be safe. Well, I went there and ended up losing my job from there after 1 year when they lost contracts and all this other stuff. And I remember I'm in my kitchen, but you can see my living room, laid on that floor.
Okay, yep.
And I looked up and I said, as God is my witness, I will never work for anyone else. I will slit my wrists before I work for someone else.
Yeah.
And that was going into 2008.
Okay.
And so I fumbled around. I did some counseling and things. But when, like I said, I didn't want to work for anybody in an agency.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I started to try to just go back and do it without being in an agency, my state said, oh, you're old as dirt. Your skills need to be updated. So in order to keep my license, girl, they made me go back to school again. Now, by this time, I've already got 2 master's degrees.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And so I went back to school in 2009 to refresh my degree. So this time I went and did psychology because I was really into that. And that's where I say that was the best and the worst thing for me. It was the best thing in that it got me to where I am now. And it was the worst thing because I don't think I've ever worked that hard. Lorna, when you go back to school as old, and I mean, when I say I'm old, I'm not old. But let me just put it this way. I had grown people's bills and they treated us like we were freshly minted college graduates with no mortgage. And so they had rules like if you are a graduate assistant and you are, working on this program, because we're giving you a stipend and a grad assistantship, these are your jobs. So you can't work other places. You got to go to school, do your research, do the research that your professor, your grant committee professor wants you to do. Oh, and then you have to do all the grunt work that they want you to do too. And so I was running around crazy and could not take care of myself. So the story, the genesis of the story started with me trying to become an entrepreneur, but it ended up with me going back to school thinking that if I supplied the requirements of the state to update my skills, that I would be able to be this great counselor and, not have to be under an agency who would be my supervisory licensee or whatever. And I could not feed myself. I ran through my savings. I depleted everything. You name it, I depleted it trying to go back and do this program. The program was going to be years, and I was into my 3rd year when I couldn't do it anymore. And I started teaching myself. At the time, I was dating someone. I used to call him the love of my life, but I was dating someone who was driving me crazy on top of all this. And just on a whim to get away from everything I was doing, I started writing. And he would love these stories. I shouldn't be telling this, but I'm in it now. So I would send him the stories via email. Yeah. And then, sometimes I do little text vignette stories to him. He's like, I love them. So I had an audience of one, a captive audience of one. Now, as you can tell, if you're sending your significant other stories, they are stories that are not bland or tame.
Yeah, probably not.
And it got to be where I was just like, I can't take this anymore. And on a crazy whim, I saw something online where people were making a lot of money putting up cookbooks on Kindle and making money. Yeah. Now, I love to cook. I can cook. I mean, I really can. But I didn't want to do that. Yeah. First of all, it was like, do I want to spend the precious little dollars I have on the hope that I'm going to get this recipe right? Yeah. Or do I, so it was kind of like a cost prohibitive thing as well. And so I thought about it and I was like, I can start writing stories. Mm-hmm. And possibly putting them up on Kindle. Let's see what happens. I started doing it, and this was in 2011. Yeah, I started doing it. And Lorna, it was crazy. I had people telling me if I could give this a -5, I would. Y'all, it's a train wreck. Bless her heart. Now, I don't know if you know about Southern United States, but when somebody says bless her heart, it is not a compliment. I was all over the place because I was self-taught. I did not grow up wanting to be a writer. I was a voracious reader, but not a writer. And so everything I did was organic and it was self-taught. So you can imagine what self-taught looks like. And I was so self-taught, I didn't know the components of story. I didn't know how to edit. Now, in my hubris, I'm like, I'm working 3rd master's, going into a PhD. I can write. I write research stuff. Yeah. It's totally different. Totally different. And they skewered me, but they bought. And I got to the point where I was publishing. And that's another thing. In my world, 3,000 words, honey, you doing something.
Yeah.
Oh, if you can write 3,000 words, child, please, you are doing it.
Yeah.
So I was putting up stories around 2,800 to, sometimes 4,000 words. And my covers were horrendous. They were Microsoft Paint. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't judge me. And it was just crazy. I was so literal in my covers and how I made them. Whatever the little story was about, that's what was on the cover. I didn't know anything about genre stuff. And I just knew I wrote naughty little vignettes. And heaven help my boyfriend at the time if he made me angry. Oh, that would give a spate of about 5 of them in a week. And so when I got up to 13 of these little stories, they were horrible. But I was making probably about $300 a month off of Amazon.
That's great.
I did everything wrong, Lorna. Self-taught. Grammar was horrendous. Spell check, we don't have time for that. And I was just like, top of head, tip of tongue, to the fingertips, publish. Because it was an outlet. And I think the reason why I was able to do that is because of the stress that I had from university and from trying to survive and pay bills. And when the money started, now think about this. I got paid for school once a semester. And a semester for us is usually about 5 months. Yeah. And then you have a break. So I would only get paid 3 times a year. So that would be fall, winter, spring, summer, and then summer.
Yeah.
And you had to make it work. And we would always run out of money.
Oh.
So I'll never forget it. One of my cohorts in my program, she was like, girl, I know you're doing something. My children got to eat. You tell me what you're doing. Because we couldn't work. And so I told her, I said, girl, I'm writing these little books. I said, they hate them, but they buy them. And I was still selling them for like 99 cents. So you think about how many I was selling at 99 cents when, of course, Amazon only pays 35 cents. And this is how ancient I am. This is before Kindle Select. This was before you got paid for page reads.
Yeah.
And I'm doing these little naughty books. And I showed her what I was doing. And she was like, are you sure this is how you write a story? That's how I write mine. So I'll never forget. I taught her, and I told her don't tell anybody, but that's like saying tell everybody. So I ended up teaching about 6 people in my program, and it's crazy because they've got kids, so we're the grown-ups in these programs,
yeah.
And they've got kids, and they're like, look, I don't care, I got kids to feed, and so we're all, meeting to take care of, stuff that we need to. So like if we needed to grade papers for our professors, or whatever, we would do that. And then we'd be like, okay, y'all, let's write. And we would write and publish. And so my little community was great. That next year, I hit $1,000 a month. And I was like, if I just keep doing this, I can make it. And so I quit my program.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I decided to go full time. And that was in 2014. I decided to go full time. And it was during that time that I said, how you doing things, how you do everything. So I was like, let me start teaching myself. And so I went back and started I learned by listening a lot. And so I got an Audible account and I started listening to the greats, the perennial sellers, if you will, to see how they flowed, how a story was constructed. And then I started reading, little training manuals here and there. Some of them were good, some of them were bad, but I took everything and ate the fish, left the bones. And in 2015, because I had more people who had heard how I had taught these other people how to write, they were like, well, can you do a class? And remember, I know how to do curriculum. I know how to teach people. So I was like, well, let me do that. And I put together this product called How to Write Good Fiction Fast. And it took off because still people weren't really teaching people
Yeah.
how to write fiction. They were teaching people how to do cookbooks, how to do self-help, and ebook info,
Right.
and even memoirs. But nobody was tackling for the general public how to write fiction.
Yeah.
And so I came up with How to Write Fiction Fast. It took off. And then I followed that up with creative fiction writing for Kindle, characters who feel, based on the fact, that I'm a counselor and I know, how to do feelings and stuff. And my approach was different in that I'm self-taught. I'm a working author. And I was telling people, this is not theory. This is how I pay my mortgage and my car payment
Yes.
and insurance. And so it went from there. As we speak, I have now in my lifetime, I have published 40, because I counted for you. I've published 43 books, but I only have 30 published right now because those first 13,
Yeah.
they deserved a Valhalla worthy death. So, believe it or not, I took those down and actually just started over. I mean, I did Scorched Earth campaign. I don't even have that original account.
Yeah.
And I depublished them. And the funny thing is after I depublished them, the hard drive that they lived on, because it was really before cloud, servers were really big, that hard drive melted. So I don't even have them anymore. I was like, maybe I thought, I'll do I can't find them, and my mind won't even let me think that bad anymore. So I have nothing to show for the genesis of my creation. So like I said before at the beginning, it was a circuitous route.
Yeah.
But that's how I got here, and I am a second career self-taught indie publisher author.
That is so awesome. What a great story, Michelle. It's so inspiring for people that are wanting to start and make a side income or even go full time. I mean, it's just so inspiring.
Yeah, and the thing is for me, it was something now I guess I'm telling because you did send me some preliminary things that you might cover. And I was like, this is so gracious of her to do this. And I kind of did not think about it, but now it's kind of like coming up effervescently. And you were asking, what's your story? How did you get into this? And one of the things that really was on my mind was, what if I'm not received? And when I say not received, social economics dictate that just on average, I am going to be the lowest wage earner. It is what it is. Those are the facts.
Yes.
And I had a friend, and he's a precious soul, and I hope he never sees this, but I used to beg him. I was like, would you be my beard? He was like, what? I was like, I need a male Caucasian face for what I want to do. He's like, I'm not doing that. He's like, you were trying to, there was this show that used to come out called Hung. He was like, you're trying to do the tame version of Hung and Pimp Me. I was like, but there's no sex involved. And he was just like, no, Michelle, no, I'm not doing it. So I try him every now and again. This was when I was scheming and trying to think of ways to take care of myself.
Yeah.
But when I was able to start writing, believe it or not, I never was forced to put a face behind these pen names. And so I didn't. I learned. And I actually did a few experiments. I have one pen name that I still use that I use my face on.
Yeah.
And that pen name makes the lowest for me.
Oh, okay.
When I just use covers of my books or, feelings or logos, and I write, I do fine. And I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying these are the numbers.
Yeah.
So being able to write and write freely, it was amazing. I remember going to reader conferences, and people would come, and I didn't think I had fans. They would come for me, and they would get there and they look at me. They're like, "You're her, or you're him, or whatever they would think." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And I could just see this whole new revelation. Coming to pass. And so I want to I really want to say this, Lorna. I want to say this to any and everyone out there. Do not let what you think society will hinder you from doing deter you from this. This is the one industry that I can think of that you can sidestep or get around just about anything if you want to, that keeps you from going directly to your readers and letting them, or your customers, and letting them directly experience you in a direct interaction. And that's why I love publishing as an independent, because there are no gatekeepers and the work speaks for itself. The other thing that I did learn, and I'm very thankful for, is that, as you can tell by now, I'm a storyteller. And I tell people, I'm not an author. I'm not a writer. I did not grow up doing that. That is not my heart's desire. But if I manage to get you in my crosshairs, I'm going to keep you there till I'm ready for you to go. I'm going to tell you the story that connects with you on a level where we are empathically connected.
Yeah.
And so when I realized that, and I decided, stop trying to be a writer, those first 13 books, be the storyteller that you are. That's all I do. I storytell in the form of words, because it's really not about my story. It's really about the nuances and what I'm doing to seduce that person that's reading those words that I'm articulating to them. Yeah. And so that's what I think is at the core of why this works for me. Because I'm a storyteller. I'm not a writer. I'm a storyteller. And storytellers, our orientation is about performance and entertaining the reader or the person receiving it. For me, and I don't want to say this categorically, but for me, when I've experienced true writers, they are engrossed in that story. That's why I think I started writing before I learned how to tell a story.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's a lot of, that's a lot of insight right there. It's true. Writing is, that's great. It's just, it's really the storytelling that is at the heart of a really good, that draws readers in.
Yeah, I looked at it, and from my research, always a researcher, I tend to do a lot of research. And when I looked through the years, the people who have had the most sustainable income have been entertainers. Yeah. If you go back to even medieval feudal times, the court jesters and the traveling troops made more money than anybody besides royalty who was inheriting it and taking it as taxes. Yeah. And if you look at the longevity of whose estates and things have made the most, it has been your artists and your writers, the creatives. And I was just like, that's amazing, because we have it twisted. We think it's business, and business followed by athletes, followed then by entertainers. And it's not. If you look at the longevity of a career or the lasting sustainability of a career. Just today, I was looking at some stuff, and they were talking about this man who is destitute. And they looked at how many millions he had made during his athletic career. Yeah. And he's destitute now. And then I thought about people like, forgive me, but I went there, Liberace or Jackson, or these people. I'm like, oh my God, their estates are killing it. Yeah. And it's because I really. And I say this to my students, and I say this to myself to remind myself when I'm having those blah days, as we will, as creatives and storytellers and authors. I give myself a pass when I don't feel it. And I tell myself, and I tell my students, do you realize you are a mortal being pooping out immortality? There is a price to be paid for that. Yeah. So pay the price and do it, because everything that we put into, whether it's words written on a page, an audio book, or however we articulate that is going to outlive us. Yeah. So much so that, I'm having to learn how to estate plan now, for my portfolio and all these different things. And so the fact that I'm blessed to be able to catch a beam of immortality and capture it in the form of an entertaining story, it blows my mind. So when I'm having the headaches, or when I'm, as we are tend to do, not feeling the writing urge right then, I remind myself, you create your mortality.
Yeah.
You will create again. Don't beat yourself up. It's okay.
Oh, that's great. That's really inspiring, Michelle. It's awesome. Well, would you talk a little more about your beginnings of how you how that came about, that you broke into the science fiction genre, right? And you were brand new to that. And I just think, many writers that are listening that are also new to writing, and just think they'd be so inspired by your story.
Oh, well, as I said before, I actually started out in erotica.
Yeah.
And then moved to contemporary. I like to call those the mud fights, because everybody is there. And I was actually, it came because I was teaching some students one-on-one. I'm going to digress for just a moment. I am not that good at this moment, social media wise. I tend to be quiet on social media because I am a one-on-one kind of person, as you can tell. And so I love to get these small groups of people that I can take for a season and just help them confront everything to become writers that they can be. And so one of these groups was going on, and I had this guy who was writing sci-fi. And he was like, that's easy for you because you make money already, and blah, 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 blah. And, and I was like, first of all, I was tired because of the churn and burn of when you have to write erotic shorts and you have to write contemporary, and how fast and fickle that side is. Yes. And I was tired of writing stuff I didn't want to write, so I could, pay the bills. Yeah. And so he gave me a challenge. He tried to call me out. He was like, but I don't think that'll work for somebody just starting out. I was like...
Challenge accepted.
Yes, indeed, honey. Player ready one. And so I had to do a crash course because I was not a sci-fi girl. Yeah. I'm the kind of person who just watched Star Wars on Netflix. Yeah. I mean, I'm the one running to, see all the greatest. And so I took the way I approach things, and because I have to articulate this so much, this is the only reason why I think I can even tell it to you. I have found that my unique approach to things that Michelle does the best is, instead of trying to consume what something is, I always look for one thing. I look for that one unique, magnificent spark that makes that uniquely it. And so that's what I did when I started to look at the sci-fi genre. Mm-hmm. Now, he wanted to write romance and he wanted to do sci-fi. I was like, huh? And so I had to, I never forget this. He issued that challenge to me in June of that year. And I published my first sci-fi romance novel September 10th.
Wow.
Yeah, so
because sci-fi, that's also world building. So you're not just telling us, you're building a world.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Because and the thing is again, I really believe it's because of the storytelling aspect of what I do. I believe that part of my quest is to be a magnificent storyteller, where I help people get inspired and get ingenious, innovative ways to live their life. And so finding that was prevalent in sci-fi, and that I was confronted with having to do it, I was like, I will do this. And then I got excited when I found out I could, and I said, oh, I get to do this. And that's where it all started. I challenge accepted, and I said, okay, I'm going to do it like you. I'm not going to use my email list. I'm not going to use what I know of paid marketing or ads. I'm going to pretend like I am just starting out. And that's exactly what I did. And so quickly, when I started out, I pretended I didn't have a budget and that nobody knew me.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't use my face. I didn't connect that pen name to any of my others. And what I did was I went and full disclosure, I have an undergrad in business marketing and I have an MBA with a focus on finance. So rudimentally, I am trained in how to do marketing the way the rest of the world does it. And when I say the rest of the world, I'm talking about from a corporate marketing standpoint.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus, I had years of working in corporate America. I worked as a pricing analyst, as a financial strategist for, airlines. I understand revenue management and all those other things. So I do want to preface that was a little bit of an unfair advantage, but I did use it. Because you got to take the transferable skills. And the difference is that I understood that marketing myself as a newbie was not about me too marketing. I was not going to look at what others were doing. I was going to take that one thing that made me magnificent and get it in front of people. So what I did was I found on Facebook, I was like, I just want 3 because I'm not good at this. I found 3 active groups of readers that were in areas where they were willing to try stuff. Because at the time, there weren't a lot of sci-fi reader romance groups.
Yeah.
So I went to a Kirby group. I went to a sci-fi group. And I went to a woman of color, people of color, WOC, POC group of romance.
Yeah.
And I became active in those groups. And I started doing what I did for my ex.
Yeah.
He's my ex. And I started putting little vignettes in there. Like, y'all tell me if you like this.
Yeah.
And they were like, I like that. When's the book? Are you going to write a book about it? I was like, we'll see. So what I was doing was I was making my own marketing focus groups out of these. And so a lot of times what people do is they'll join the group, they'll try to be nice, and then they'll start bombing them with their buy my book. And let me say this, not to you, Lorna, but to those who are watching. You guys, if I can't say anything else about marketing, before you can get into the data, before you can get into metrics and stats, you need to understand some fundamentals. And I'm going to tell them to you. This one on me. You need to understand the difference between push and pull marketing.
Okay, that's good.
Push marketing, listen to me, beloved. Push marketing is like a pattern interrupt. It's for people who are a cold audience, who don't know you, who are doing whatever they're doing, and you put a commercial in front of them, and you say, hey, I know you were trying to watch Game of Thrones, but buy my book. Or they're doing something else. They're scrolling through Facebook, and boom, buy my book.
Yeah.
So push marketing is for the cold market. Pull marketing is where the sale happens, and that's for a warm market. That's for people who are contextually already in your arena, who are looking to either be entertained, to buy a book, or to follow you. And I mean, there are others, but for the most part, that's going to get it. Now, the problem is a lot of people confuse when to use push and pull marketing. There's this epidemic happening right now that I have been reluctantly a part of, and it's for research. I shouldn't divulge this, but the whole leverage of using bundles to sell a lot of books. And people don't understand that you have to also understand the difference between strategy and tactic. Now, Rich Schefrin, Todd Brown, these are some marketers who have made this really prevalent in the internet marketing space, but I'm going to say this to us writers. A lot of us confuse some major things. Number one, they don't understand the difference between push and pull marketing. And number two, they don't know what is the difference between a strategy, a tactic, and an event. And I am seeing a lot of people who are trying to sell these bundles, trying to get these letters. And the reason why it's not working is because they have misunderstood events and tactics and called them strategies. And the strategies are not there. And thus, the books are not getting sold. So I'm going to back that up if you'll allow me, Lorna.
Yes, of course.
And to break this down a little bit. And I think I'm going to be talking about this Yeah, I forget which one. It might be Smarter Artist or Nink. Oh, anyway, uh, if you come, make sure you come hear me because I'm going to talk to you guys about this. But okay, so push marketing is the pattern interrupt for the cold market.
Mm-hmm.
Pull marketing is where the sale actually happens with the warm market or somebody who is looking for you. When I use the word contextual, meaning that it fits the right time, the right place for what they want. That's really all
Right.
context means.
Yeah.
So when I went into these groups, I knew first and foremost that a Facebook group, listen to me, beloveds, most Facebook groups are set up, if they have any kind of effectiveness, they are set up for pull marketing, meaning for warm markets.
Yeah.
If you have a Facebook group that says authors promote their books, that is push marketing, and that is why its effectiveness is not as big as if you are in a theme-oriented group. So a lot of people try to go into a pull marketing Facebook group to do push marketing. You've not earned their trust. They don't know who you are. And you put in there, hey, y'all, buy my book. And you're like, what the hey? And you wonder why it doesn't work. Now, on top of that, it is a tactic. Now, if you're looking at the hierarchy, strategy is this big thing that contains a tactic that contains an event.
Yeah.
A tactic is a piece of your strategy to get your strategy done. So tactics can change all the time, and they do.
Yeah.
For instance, a strategy is I will be the best or top selling or New York Times bestseller, moving this many units by this amount of time.
Yeah.
It usually has a definable goal. A tactic is how you piece it together to get you from that A to Z, or for my UK people, Z. And see how global I am? So that's a tactic. An event. An event is an action. Usually it's a initial action to do something, and it's a spark, but it can also be a tactic. So when I'm going all the way back to how you asked me how I got started. See, I didn't forget, Lorna.
Yeah.
So when I started this new sci-fi pen name, taking what I knew about marketing and understanding that I am working as if these people don't know me, I decided, what is the one event that I can do to start my tactic so that my strategy will work? That meant that I was going to need to do pull marketing. Now, why did I need to do pull marketing? Push marketing takes a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because when you are interrupting people, you got to do it a lot. So you know how people say people need to see you at least 7 times before it to stick?
Right.
That's because that's push marketing. Push marketing costs a lot because it is just simply getting them familiar with you by repetition, by attention, and it costs a lot of money. That's where a lot of your Facebook ads are going to come in. I look at people and they say, well, what's the ROI on that? And what they're doing is, I can tell they don't know truly what marketing is because they're looking at a push tactic. And by the way, push tactics are very hard to get a high return on investment because you have to do so much of it. Like I said before at the beginning, most 90%, if I had to put a percentage on it, of your sales is going to come through your pull marketing. Okay, so push marketing, that's going to be your ads. That's going to be your buy my book, your commercials and all of that. Do not expect to get a lot of sales from that. Just continue to do it because it works. One of the big things that people don't realize that others do, and I heard this from Gary Vee articulated very well, and he said that in our attention-focused economy right now, big companies no longer sell, they only market. And the way they only market is through branding. So that was another thing that I decided to do. I got a logo. I did cute little, quote unquote, cute little things to start getting people familiar with this new pen name in these groups. And I gave out stuff and I started the branding. So if you think about it, when was the last time you saw Coca-Cola or Pepsi actually tell you to go buy their product. They don't.
Yeah.
When is the last time you saw Apple tell you, just blatantly tell you to go buy their products? They don't.
Yeah.
They create a branding lifestyle. And simply put, branding is simply about, and I have to pause now and give a shout out to Miss Helen Wang from Xavier University. Who was? She was my marketing mentor. She was the person who taught me about marketing, and I thank that lady because she knew her stuff.
Yeah.
Helen Wang. Okay, but branding is not about your appearance or your logo. Branding is simply about what everybody thinks about you when you're not around.
Yeah.
Branding is the business's character. Like your character is your integrity or what people think about you when you're not around. That's what branding is to your business.
Yeah.
To your persona.
Yeah.
What do they think about you? And so when you look at it like that, the whole world changes. So getting back to this pen name and this challenge and not using a large budget, I decided I needed to find a way to do pull marketing. That's why I chose 3 groups that I could concentrate on, warming them up and getting them to contextually interact with me through post, through giving them samples of what I was writing or talking about, or giving them memes that I didn't go find, I actually made them, or statements of like, y'all think this is funny, or would this work, or blah, 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 blah. Because contextually, those who feel connection, empathy, buy from you. Even if they plan to never read it, they'll buy from you because, oh, that's Shell. That's Michelle. We'll support her. So I did that. Now, remember, the challenge was in June. I published in September.
Yes.
So I was able to build this pull marketing strategy from June all the way up through August. So I spent the summer doing that, just 3 months, 90 days, which is not long when you look at it. But for some authors, honey, you might as well tell them to carry a cross down the highway because they are like, oh, that's just true. I'm telling the truth, right?
It is.
I can't be bothered with that. Oh my God. And I'm like, do you want to sell a book? So I digress. Like I said, I'm a storyteller, but I just got to let you know why this worked. So that was my pull marketing. I decided that because I couldn't use the budget, pull marketing was going to be the best because, believe it or not, pull marketing is where the sale happens and it costs less than push. But you're going to pay a price, and that is you have to be consistent and diligent in building the relationship.
Right.
So therefore, that's where social media comes in. I see authors, including me, we get it wrong. We don't say anything, and then all of a sudden when we got a book, now we all want to buy my book. And we're doing push marketing in a pull marketing setting where we have no context. We're interrupting people, and they're like, get out of my face. And we wonder why it takes so long to sell a book.
Right.
So, in recap, teacher coming out here. Understand the difference between push and pull marketing. Understand where to do push, where to do pull, when to do push, when to do pull. If you have a budget, go for push. Go for the ads and the commercials and all of that to a broader audience. Be prepared to pay for it and do not expect to see immediate sales from that because push marketing is the forerunner or the opening act for pull. When you do push marketing, always have a way to bring them into your court where you can now start to woo them. That is why I teach all my students to have a Facebook group so that anything you do, send them to 2 places, your Facebook group and your email list.
Yeah.
Email is the ultimate pull marketing strategy. They have signed up because something about you they want more of, and you are able to talk directly to them.
Yeah.
So Facebook group, Slack group, Yahoo group, and email is pull marketing, and that's where the sales happen. Yeah. So like for instance, to these bundle book people, yes, do the ads, but you need to be working the email list and the Facebook personal groups that you've earned a right to speak to sell the books.
Yeah.
All right. So then recap on strategy, tactic, and event. Most people are calling tactics strategies. They are not the same.
Yeah.
Your strategy will a lot of times never change, but your tactics always do. And when you see that the tactic is not working, you need to let it alone and find another tactic. Tactics are dictated by, again, push and pull strategy. I mean, push and pull marketing. So if you don't have any money, you need to find a way to get some pull marketing going. You need to find a way to build an audience. Yeah. That's where you can do it on social media. Shortcut to that, Lorna, right now for authors, best place to do it is Instagram and Snapchat if you can. Yeah. Instagram if you can. If you don't want to fool with Snapchat, start building your audience on Instagram by being consistent and not just giving them a meme or whatever, but just talking to them. Yeah. You do a 1-minute video and post it and just say, hey, how y'all doing? And people will start watching it. They love that personal engagement. One of the things that I found that authors don't realize is the power of your face. They don't care what you look like. Now, I know I said that I usually don't show my face, but when I do, my book sales go up.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
So thank you for letting me have that little say.
I'm glad the teacher in you came out because, you really, really defined that well. Right?
Now do you see why the pen name took off?
Yes.
Because it was more common sense. It was, if I don't, and a lot of people don't have that kind of budget.
Yeah.
You want to tap into the greatest source of marketing ever known, and that is called word of mouth marketing.
Yeah.
So, Lorna, people see you talking to us and doing these podcasts. They begin to feel like they know you. So do you know what happens if at the end of this podcast you say, well, my next book coming out is, people are going to go get that book, as opposed to a book that probably had a $2 million budget behind it and they never got a chance to see who the author is. And that is because of the know, like, trust factor.
Yeah.
You cannot get away from the empathy that people will buy those they know or feel like they know, like, and trust. And that is why video is powerful. Yeah, letting them see you. And so when you said you wanted to do video, I was like, okay, I got writer's hair. I'm not combing my hair for her, but I will do it.
Oh, you look great.
So, yeah, and we're actually, we write. But the thing is when you look back at it and you think back, if you're doing it right, you're not having to try to keep up. The beauty of being an independent publisher, and let me stress this, you are not just an indie author. You are in the publishing business.
Yes.
If you publish your stuff, you're in the publishing business. And the business of publishing is publishing. You have to publish a book. You are not.
Yes.
Girl, do you know how many people I get in Facebook private message? I'm an author. Good. How many books have you published? None. You're not no. You're not indie. You are author, but you're not indie, because independence, we publish. We are publishers. So that's part of our duality. So that's another little pet peeve, can you tell? But I just want to put that out there. Publish, y'all. Publish. Yeah. If I can publish crap that people wanted to give a -5 review to and still make money, you can do this. Yeah. Publish. Over yourself. Get over yourself and publish.
Yeah. And that's sometimes the thing, right, that holds us back, whether it's we think our writing, it's not good enough, so maybe I should just hold back until I have this almost perfect writing. But does that ever happen where you get almost perfect writing?
No, because we are infallible beings.
Yes.
Hooping out immortality. I actually, there are times when I spend more time begging my students to publish than I do to write. They will write, it might be because I'm very, don't let this light voice fool you. I guess you can tell I'm an in-your-face kind of chick.
I like
I'm like, you will write.
Yeah.
So I don't too much have the problem of getting them to write. It's that publishing. Push the button. Push the button. It's not ready yet. Push the button. So I normally have to do that. And, a little bit of my erotic is coming out. But I'm like, I normally have to pop a lot of indie publishing cherries because of that. And, I mean, it's not just that. It's the public scrutiny.
Yeah.
And so like as when I'm doing a class, I don't just teach the business of writing. I think the reason why I've had a success, and the last time I counted had been like over 15,000 that I had worked with, in groups and trainings and stuff.
That's awesome.
I'm trying to leave my legacy. That's my, legacy if I will, because I don't have any children, so I got to do it another way. But what I look at is the fact that as a creative,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have to confront the emotional management way more than in any other industry.
Yeah.
So like you can have sociopaths running successful businesses. They do it all the time. They're probably some of the best people to be a CEO of a company. Seriously. Because they really honestly cannot biologically give a flying flip what you think.
Yeah.
They can't do it. Whereas for all independent publishing authors, we are so much in our feelings, because when you have to write something that is commercially viable, because we write popular fiction, popular fiction genre. I'm not really talking about the literary crowd.
Yeah.
When you do what we do, we have to hold these spinning plates. We have to be commercially viable to give the people what they want. We have to emotionally dig deep to make it vulnerably believable enough for them to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Then we have to market or sell it, so the business part. And then we have to service the people by being available. It astounds me to what lengths readers will go to pierce the veil to learn what they can about you as an author.
Oh.
They want to go to the mountaintop and come back with the tablets.
Yeah.
They want to, oh my gosh, and it's the funniest thing. I have readers who try to befriend me very fast and very deep all the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think they unconsciously are doing it because they are not consciously aware of the fact that they are trying to consume me, to know everything about me, and thus going past that boundary. But I'm really good at those boundaries. Yeah. And therefore, a lot of authors don't realize that statistically speaking, we have the highest occurrence and numbers of anxiety, panic attack, depression, overeating, bad health, suicidal tendencies and ideologies. Why do you think Hemingway with his demise and Van Gogh with the ear and, all of these creatives, people don't understand that, like I said, we are mortal beings producing immortality, and there's a price to be paid, and that price is in the emotional management. So I spend just as much time, thank God, as a counselor and therapist, I can do this, but I spend just as much time helping authors get the tools they need emotionally to be able to do what they do and to sustain it that I do teaching them how to be a storyteller who writes.
Yeah. Is so key. I think I'm realizing more and more how super important having that sort of success author mindset, like that perspective that just doesn't quit, but also where you know when you need to inspire yourself. It's like is it kind of like being aware of what you need and when you need it as a writer?
I used to say that, and that put a lot of pressure on writers because that's a muscle and a skill that takes years to build.
Yeah.
And so what I do now is I tell my students and whomever might be listening here, when you become aware.
Yeah.
Not always, you don't have to be vigilant, but when you become aware, use the tools that will help you to get back to health if you're skewed, or to maintain an ability to be diligent and consistent. See, for me, those are my litmus tests. I mentioned it earlier,
Mm-hmm.
the times I don't feel like writing,
Yeah.
I don't feel like it, I'm a little more forgiving now because I do try to be aware of my cycles.
Yeah.
And my personality type is I have cycles. There are personality types that don't. But for my personality type, I have cycles where I am on in the creative. And then I have cycles where I am on in the analytical, the research. And then I have cycles when I just need to rest
Yeah.
and recuperate. And I have learned to deal with what we call procrastination a little differently.
Yeah.
In that procrastination is a tool. It is part of our arsenal of what we do. It is part of the information gathering. It is part of the forming future casting what we look like and who we are that has completed this.
Yeah.
Me, now this is just me to students, because this is, I'm still forming it. But for me, like I'm writing a book right now that's due in a few days, and I have spent more time future casting what I look like and who I am, who has completed this book, so that now what I am doing is I am focused on creating a direct path to who that Michelle is, and thus writing the story that Michelle has produced. I know it might sound weird, but it has a little bit of the quantum physics, theoretical physics bent to it, that in any situation, I truly believe that if I got an idea or someone asked me, or if I was commissioned to produce something, that somewhere in some reality it is done.
Yeah.
And all I have to do is find my way to see who she is, who did it, and then get there to be her. And that's, that's what I do. We were talking before we started, and I had this epiphany last year. I became fat. I'm just going to call it for what it is. And because I can talk about it, I'm not shaming anybody, not even myself. I became fat in more ways than one. My body was an outward show of my fatness inside. And my fatness was this. I have known for some time, when you build curriculum and when you dare to teach anybody anything, it's not the information, it's the transformation.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize that they're trying to give people information. People don't want information. They already have information.
Yeah.
The transformation. But because we have so much information, information has become the sugar of our world outside of food. People love to have knowledge and stats and trivia and all this kind of stuff. And so you can become fat on that. And I have become fat on it. So there's like 3 parts that I'm always trying to be aware of whenever I am writing a story or teaching someone or teaching myself something. And that is, you must have information, knowledge, learning first. Then you have practice. That's the sucky part. Then you become skilled.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, including myself, try to get the information, knowledge, learning, and then they want to be skillful. And I can always tell when I'm dealing with someone like that, because, Lorna, here are some of their telltales. Or let me just give you just one, because I don't want to, take a lot of time talking about this. I already know that, but I'm like, oh, you fat. Because, yes, you might know that, but you're not doing it. And the difference between somebody knowing something and somebody doing something is practice.
Yeah.
You're not practicing what you know because you're not skillful at it. Because skill pays the bills. Skill gets it done. And so I have a lot of people that I have been blessed to serve and assist who come to me and they know so much. I mean, I have had so many MFAs come to me. I'm like, why are you coming to me? You already know it. And I realized that going back to what my magnificence is, I have this dogged determinedness to make people practice and become skillful of getting the most potent part of the information that they need, because I'm all about results. And so I'm like, let's get this knowledge, we don't need all of it, but we're gonna get the part that gets you to 80%, and we're gonna start to practice and become skillful. So even going back to when I started that new pen name, it was about getting just the right amount of the information, trimming that fat, because some of us know so much we can't even waddle up to start practicing. We're so fat with information and knowledge that we know so much that we can talk ourselves out of application and implementation. And so for me, when I woke up fat and I was like, I'm not doing what I know to do, I stripped all that away and I started practicing. That's the same thing I did with that pen name. Stripped away. Remember, I quote unquote know all this stuff. I had already built pen names and all this kind of stuff. And what did I do? I went back and I looked at what is the core part of marketing that I need to do based on the challenge I had accepted. Yeah. And I focused on practicing that, thus becoming skillful and building up that pen name in under 4 months.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that pen name is the 6-figure pen name,
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, that keeps going. I mean, I'm to the point, and this is not to brag or anything. I'm to the point where I'm probably going to devote most of my time to that pen name because it does so well in that I de-cuckoo-fied myself to go back to the basics and understand that yes, you get learning, knowledge, and information. But the biggest part of that trinity in the middle is the practice of it.
Yeah.
The problem that we have as authors is not that we are looking for ideas. It's not that we're looking for knowledge. It's the fact that we have not built the muscle or the practice of practice to become skillful at what we do. The starts and stops amaze me. Yeah. How you'll have people that write books, they get a little successful, and then they go back and they regress back into this sugar ingesting. I need more knowledge. And then they don't publish for a year or two or whatever. Yeah. You've seen it, right?
Yes, yeah.
And that's what it is. It's that fatness. It's the sugar of the knowledge. And thus, going back, we were talking, like I said earlier, in December, my body showed an outward reflection of what I was doing. And so this year so far, I've written 7 books, and I've released 70 pounds.
That's awesome.
And I've told you before, and I still sit 10 to 12 hours a day. Because we got it right. And
yes.
I can't do you would think I would master, doing the speech I can't do it. So I actually type out my books.
Yeah.
But those are some of the things that I am so grateful that you're all offering this platform for me to say to people. And I really hope what I'm saying is making sense. Because this mind in here, honey, it's a terrible place to be without a map. But yeah, so those are some of the things. So going back to, teaching myself and my students, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the vessel. This is the temple. If this is not working,
yes,
nothing is working. And it's usually an outward physical representation of some emotional crap that's going on. And so getting back to the basics is one of the big things that I would say for any authors. Go back to the basics and use the information and knowledge that's pertinent to your strategy. Don't do Me Too marketing. Don't be tempted. So for instance, when I was doing a lot of contemporary, that wave is so powerful that it is hard to swim against that stream. If you're in a genre that's like that, where you're forced to write, because market is demanding something that you're not in sync with, go to a sub-genre.
Yeah.
I am sub-genre queen. I'm like, you guys, top genre is not where indies are going to make their mark at this particular time.
Yeah.
And what I mean is if you like sci-fi, then maybe you go down 1 or 2, and you do Galactic Empire, female adventure. Or,
Okay. Yeah. Right.
you see what I mean? Own that area.
Right.
Own it. Because the top genre people will come down there. They will. But if you're trying to be up here, mudslinging, oh God, carnage, it's not going to be pretty.
No.
And you're going to find yourself having to write stuff that you don't like. I have an acquaintance, and because of their large following that they have established, they're one of those, 5 million plus kind of people who
Wow.
sold that many books, but they hate what they write. And it is because they're in one of those top genres, and they have the Sherlock Holmes issue.
Oh, okay.
Where they have series and series and series that people love, and they want to do something different, but that's what the money is, and it's a vicious cycle. And I'm like, well, it's not like you can kill that town off, or, and I'm like, okay, so go to a subgenre, create a new pen name, and test it out for your sanity.
Yeah.
They're doing that, and they are like, oh my gosh, I love it. It makes it easier for me to write the money makers when I'm able to do this. And now those are starting to pick up too, so that they're giving themselves time to segue into
smart thinking. Yes.
To me, it's really about that divinely common sense that is sprinkled with just a wee bit of pushing ourselves to be innovative in our ingenuity. And
it's really good.
The one thing that I'll say is if you want to do that, because I get that asked all the time, how did you come up with this? How did you think to do that? I personally, whenever I want to do that kind of thinking or changing, I change my perspective. Perspective is different from perception. Perception is how we think about something.
Right.
Perspective is how we see something. And so I always change my perspective first. Let me look at it from a different angle. Let me walk a mile in somebody else's shoes.
Yes.
Let me get under it, over it, far, close. I picture it like it's a multifaceted diamond, and I try to look through different facets with different angles of light. And just by making myself do that practice, it's amazing what I can see. And it's replicatable because I teach that to students and people who interact with me, and they do it too. And you can, like I said, you can take the same thing. Now I'll tell you where this came from, the genesis, and I have to give a shout out to Delta Airlines, who taught me this when I worked in their revenue management department. Revenue management, simply put, is repurposing. What you do with revenue management is you take the tools, resources, and existing things that you already have, and you find new ways to make more money from them.
Wow.
So that is why you have airlines that will now charge you for the experience of having wider seats, or being able to have a pillow on the plane, or whatever it may be. Or charging you for your bags. They were already doing the bags. You already had a seat on there, but because they changed the way they saw it, they got a different thing. And that's what I think that's what we as independent authors excel at, where larger publishing houses can't do that, because we can change perspective and implement that through practice. So anyway, I've just been talking.
Oh, but that's so much insight there, Michelle. I'm gonna listen to this 3-4 times. Wow, that's awesome.
We really want to be practical, and the thing that I find is that I don't really come in contact with people who can't write. I've not ever come in contact with a student or somebody who wanted to write who couldn't.
Yeah.
You know what I come in contact with all the time? Invalids.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And what I call as a literary or writing invalid is the person who cannot or will not make the change from knowledge to practice.
Okay.
They think that once I learn this, I will be able to do it. No, you will not. Yeah. I'm looking you guys straight in the eyes. Yeah. Y'all see? Just because Lorna teaches you something, I teach you something, you watch a documentary, you even go to a class, that does not guarantee that you're going to be able to do what that knowledge is teaching you to do.
Yeah.
You can only get there when you practice. And practice means failing.
Yeah.
Practice is those 13 crappy books that I published back in 2011, and then kept doing it when I had an average review of 2 stars. But people are still buying.
Yeah.
Because I continued to practice. I still have to practice. Mastery is a moving target.
Yeah.
That's why the masters still do what they do.
Yeah.
And so that is, to me, one of the biggest health issues for our industry right now, Lorna. Besides the weight and all of that kind of stuff and the poor health, we don't understand practice and what it is. Practice is not just doing. Practice is doing the right stuff.
Yeah.
Practice is doing the right stuff wrong and then learning from it and getting the feedback. That's why I have done a new perspective on my reviews. I used to dread, I'm like, don't scroll down. I used to dread the bad reviews.
Yeah.
I still dread the bad reviews. They still hurt my feelings. But what I do is I determine to take the fish and leave the bones and take out those things and put them on a spreadsheet if I have to and look at them and see, can they sharpen my practice? Can I become a better storyteller based on this feedback? I'm a voracious reader, as I said, and I'm going to give you guys some books, if you permit me to.
Yes, of course. Yes.
One of the books that I really like is called Peak, and it is the new science of experts. And it's written by Anders Ericsson, I want to say.
Okay.
Get that book. And the reason why I say get that book is because what it'll do is it will show you how to go from wanting to know something to learning it to practicing it to becoming proficient in it.
Yeah.
To me, it's one of the best contemporary ways of learning how to implement. That is the thing that when I see people who won't implement, one of the things I look at is, what is their practice? What is their ritual, their routine?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they don't have one.
Yeah.
They have not built a habit. They don't have a ritual. And the difference to me between ritual and routine is a habit. A ritual is a habit with meaning.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah. It has a meaning and a why behind it.
Oh, okay, that's good. Never thought of it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I have a ritual of writing. You know what that ritual, that why is? I want to eat and I have grown people's bills, Lorna.
I like it. You're keeping it real. That's what we need. That's awesome.
People are like, I write to pay for my kids' college. I don't have no kid, but I have a stomach and I want to eat. So that really helps me. But make sure you have your rituals and your habits. But not only that, practice is not good just by doing. You have to have feedback, whether that comes by form of reviews. If you've never published before, that does not mean that you go and join a critique group. It doesn't mean that you go and get your friends to read it. You know what it means? It means that you are willing to go in and pick one little group and say, y'all, can I put a snippet in here and be brutally honest with me?
That's good.
Or if you can't fess up to it, say, y'all, I read this today. Tell me what you think about it. And put maybe 100 to 200 words in there, if that's the kind of group that is okay. Check with the moderator first, or, the owner of the group if that's not okay. But 9 times out of 10, you're not asking them to buy anything. You're just asking for feedback. And it's kind of creating your own marketing focus group. Yeah. And start from there, because those are the things that are going to help. With practice, with this Peak book, Dr. Erickson talks about deliberate practice. And deliberate practice has a lot of stuff that overlaps with understanding how procrastination works. Yeah. Overlap is that it talks about future casting. So in order for you to practice well, to become skillful, you have to have what he calls mental realization. All that really is being able to see a future self who is skillfully, masterfully either doing it or has completed the task.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's the first thing I have. And then you need to have feedback, because you can only practice the right way if you're getting guidance to hone in to what is the right way or the best way to do something. Yeah. I have a walking trail that I go to, and we have this gentleman, bless his heart, he serenades us while we walk.
That's cute.
With a violin. With a violin. And he's been doing this for about 3 years. And Lorna, he has gotten no better. It is still cats scratching a board to the point where I make sure that I have the good headphones on when I go, because he's out there and he's on the trail. He's serious. And when I say he's serious, he's out there for hours.
Yeah.
And I always kind of think of him as practice without the deliberation of understanding feedback and having a mental concept of what your highest self doing this looks like.
Right.
And too many times I see authors who say, I'm going to write a book. They have no concept of what they look like as a completed published author.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They've not taken even the mental exercise of picking up the book in their mental future self, feeling the heft of it, seeing a possible professional cover, or even visualizing, pretending or imagining that it's up on Amazon and selling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how are you going to get to that point when you don't know it's out there?
Yeah. True.
So just some, like I said, those are some of the things, and I thank God I have a class right now. I've got a couple more weeks with them, and bless their little hearts, they hate me, love me. They're like, you make my head hurt. I'm like, but you're going to be an excellent publishing storyteller when you make it through this.
Absolutely. Oh, so much wisdom there, Michelle. This is awesome.
Well, you know what? It's fine to be awesome, but what I really want, if people want to like take this, I want any feedback you get, I want them to come back and tell you what they did with this. How did they start their practice of ritual of practice?
Yeah.
How did they determine what are the first skills they want to start becoming very or highly proficient in? How are they publishing?
Yeah.
How are they now marketing, understanding the difference between pull and push marketing?
Yeah.
And how are they developing strategies and giving themselves permission to change up the tactics? I love it when I see somebody that says, oh, I know everybody's doing Facebook ads, but they don't work for me. I always want to itch and say, are you selling books? Please tell me you're selling books, because if you're selling books, that means you found your tactic that works for you.
Yeah. Are there, things that you would do differently if you were starting over again right now, or would you have done this, the same thing with the new pen name? I mean,
if I were starting a new pen name right now,
yes,
my tactics would be a little different. That would be different because, of course, tactics have a due date on them, a buy now date.
Yeah.
You did tell me this was coming, but let me gather my thoughts just a second, and then I'll give you a quick, if I can, what I would do. Okay, so if I were starting a new pen name today, and are we doing it in a new genre or what?
Well, it could be the same one, but like a new pen name that that doesn't have a big platform or whatever.
Oh, okay. All right. So the first thing that I would do is I would start to do market research. Now, market research and the market is totally different than what I have found most people who want to write or who are authors know. Most authors believe that the market. Okay, so if I ask you, what is the market for books? I could probably guess that you're going to say Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Amazon is not a market. Amazon is a distributor.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It makes sense when I say it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They are a distributing platform.
Right.
Do you know what your market is?
Your market. Is that your reading audience?
Yeah, your reading audience. That's what it comes down to. So your market is basically the publishing industry, and then the umbrella over that is the entertainment industry.
Oh, okay.
When I tell people that, they're like, what? I'm like, so when I do research, I research Amazon first. I research the entertainment industry. I look at trending.
Right.
I look at demographics of who's buying what age groups are doing what. I personally already know that the age group of 18 to 34 is the age group that is going to move the most units of whatever is being sold in the entertainment industry.
Yep.
Therefore, I'm interested in movies. I'm interested in books. I'm interested in sports, music, all of that. And Once I look at what is getting the attention, I then go and look for common themes. Right now, and I'm just going to tell y'all, because this can be articulated in various genres. Right now, my market research has shown that the big themes and the trends right now is all about strangeness, otherness, and self-identity.
Okay.
18 to 34-year-olds, millennials, if you will, they are looking for identity. Tell me who I am.
Yeah.
Or either tell me who I am or show me the possibilities of who I can be. So that is why we have an upsurge in our fantasy genres for books, adventure, and those types of things. That is why sci-fi is doing so well. If you look at Netflix, I love Netflix. It's free market research.
Yeah.
If you look at Netflix and you look at what is geared towards the millennials, you'll have things like Stranger Things, Black Mirror, Sense8, all of these self-identity, tell me who I am.
Yeah.
If you look above that to the next, the Gen Xers, Gen Ys, you're going to see where they are looking at revelation of who I can become, because we are in a redefinition of who we are, because the world is no longer how we were raised.
Yeah.
There's no longer a guarantee that you're going to have a job for 25 years or plus. There is no guarantee that you'll ever retire.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that you are owed health care, Social Security for U.S. citizens, or any of that other stuff.
Yeah.
And so you have people in our age group who are looking at, how do I redefine myself? Heck, I am in second career.
Yeah.
And so you'll look at things like Ozark, where this guy is he's a drug dealer, accountant. It's crazy. That is why Breaking Bad.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, like I said, now that I say them, the themes pop out all the time, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I do the research. Now, of course, I get students that say, well, how did you see that? Perspective. Change how you're looking at something. Get on top of it, below it, behind it, far away, close up, or see it in a different society's viewpoint. Pretend you're an alien looking down on us, or pretend you're from a different country looking at it. Change perspective, and they start to pop out. So the next thing, after I start doing that, I call meta marketing.
Yeah.
That's when I then come down into micro marketing, which is going to include your Amazons and the social medias, because that's where the actual people are going to be. Yeah. And this is one of the tricks that I tell my students and others. If you want to start with Facebook research and you want to do ads, or you want to figure out what the ads are doing, look at your own profile and see what ads are coming up for you. If you go to the upper right, there are usually 3 little dots. You click on them and there'll be a pull down menu, and it'll say, why am I seeing this ad?
Oh, okay.
If you click on that, it will say you are seeing this ad because, and it will tell you how that ad found you and classified you. It'll say things like, because you have shown interest in, which means that you can start writing that down for your interest, or you are a group of, which shows your demographic, or your activities. And so you can start with yourself on Facebook. Another thing I tell people, be careful with Facebook. They tend to skew older. So if you're running ads, if you have a Facebook fan page and you look at your demographics are always going to skew older. Okay. Back that down 5 to 7 years to get to the true buying glut of who's buying, because Instagram, we don't have good demographics yet. Right. But Instagram skews younger.
Okay.
And you're going to probably end up, because a lot of people tell me, oh, my biggest buying group is ages 44 to 54. I'm like, back that down. You're probably hitting 35s to 39s, which is still really good.
Yeah.
And do that. And so I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to hurry up and give you some things if you're starting out new, because I really I'm all about practice and practical.
Yes.
I want people to have running orders when they get off of here. So once you've done your meta, which is entertainment industry, your micro, which is now going into your Amazons, your Facebooks, I would say then look at if you have a budget.
Yeah.
If you don't, if you have a budget, then you can entertain doing some push marketing. It saddens me to see people who don't have a budget who try to go get these expensive trainings, which I think have value. I know Mark Dawson and all that. I think they have value, but that is if you have a budget.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think BookBub ads work if you have a budget.
Yeah.
I think AMS ads work if you have a budget.
Right. Yes.
If you do not, and when I say a budget, I'm talking about a budget of $5,000 minimum. The reason why I come up with that number, Lorna, you sell books, you already know. But for those of you who don't, just to market one book to get it into the mid list, if you're going to do it right when you do a launch, you need to have a budget that's going to last you at minimum 30 days. You want a budget for about 90.
Yeah.
The first month, I have seen, and I've done it, I've paid upwards of $9,000 to market a book.
Wow.
Now, you look at BookBub ads, if you're approved for them, and you put that budget in there, you need to look at, my test budget is going to be $2,000.
Yeah.
Because when you bid, those bids are going to be in the $8 and $9 range.
Yeah.
Why are you using BookBub? It's because you are paying for the convenience of shortcutting and getting into a pull marketing situation. You're buying your way into the poker table.
Yes.
BookBub collects readers. So therefore, you do have to pay the push marketing value to them, which is fair because they're the ones who developed these readers.
Yeah.
They're their readers. They can charge you push marketing prices for their pull marketing strategy.
Yeah.
But you have to still treat it like push marketing, meaning that you're going to have to show a lot of repetitions of your ad on BookBub because there's so many ads, so many books, and they only are going to recognize you by the repetition of how many times they see you.
Right.
And how many times they see you is expensive, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I say don't even come to the table if you can't really do about $2,000 with them. Amazon Marketing Services, AMS. That's Amazon's ads. Do your sponsored ads and be ready to, a lot of people like to lowball. I say if you want to keep your rankings pretty good with the algorithms, lowball, but also have a strategy that sits on top of that really goes after indie author keyword names and your keywords. Use all 1,000 of those keywords. Do not leave not a one spot, empty.
Yeah.
Use them and be willing to split test, meaning that you test one, and if it's not working, then and when I say not working, give it about a week. And and it's hard, and I'm probably getting too advanced here because some of these people don't know what I'm talking about, but it's hard because there's a lag time with AMS ads of about 2 to 3 days. So that's a little hard. That's why you're going to spend more. The least expensive with the most bang for the buck is going to be Facebook ads. But what I tell people to do is, depending on your genre, start with yourself, collect what your demographic is, and then start easy. Remember, this is a practice, and you're going to fail first. You want to fail. You want to get that experience. So start with boosting and promoting stuff from your fan page.
Yeah. Okay.
Once you start collecting data, once you start building likes to your page, then move into the power editor and move into the ads. My tactic for now would be, instead of going to the groups like I did when I started this new pen name, I would use messenger ads, and I would make a sequence, a 5 to 8 part sequence using a messenger bot.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
To directly talk one-on-one to that person who has shown interest. And what I would do is, instead of giving them a free book, I would give them access to either a video of me talking to them about my documentation of this story, of how it came about, the genesis, the origin story.
Oh, great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, make it about 5 to 10 minutes.
Yep.
And then they could get like the first chapter
Yeah.
of what I've written with the caveat, tell me what you think so far.
Yes.
So that they get the buy-in.
Yeah.
So it's doing the same thing that I used to do in the groups, but now you're doing it directly. You do have to pay, but it's not as much because they really want to push this chatbot service, so you don't pay as much as you would for regular ads. So whereas they're pushing video ads and they're pushing chatbot, and you can do a messenger ad. It's really simple. Google it. You don't have to pay anybody to show you. Just Google it. There's so many YouTube videos out there. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
I would do that. And my budget, if I was starting out on that, I would budget probably about $25. $5 a day for 5 days to see how it works. And as you continue to get people interacting with your chatbot, change up the little message. You can get a free account from Chat Fuel or ManyChat to start out with, to show you. And they're so simple. You set up your messenger bot, and you know it. You can sign them up to your email list. You can sign them up to join you in a live Zoom chat. I mean, there's so much you can do to engage people. Yeah. But to do anything, the strategy did not change. The strategy of doing a new pen name, always about direct reader engagement. Right. As soon as possible before you publish.
Yeah. That's really good. Wow, Michelle, this has been so awesome just to chat with you and sort of as you downloaded your brain.
Yeah, like I said before, I'm sorry, Lorna, but you're so precious. I just really wanted to make sure that I gave you, some value, because we are affluent. We're already affluent in our creativity, and I want us to be more affluent in our wealth accumulation as well. Yes. And the wealthy, they could give a flying flip about information. Yeah. The wealthy want transformation, and they value time. So I wanted to make sure I gave something that was practical, that would help transform and not waste anybody's time.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, you did that. That's so great. So would you just before we sort of close out this interview, but would you share some new books, projects you have on the go, and then where readers can find you online? Readers, writers, find you online?
Okay, so I have purposefully not been publishing a lot on Michael Daniels because I've been doing some research. I'm in 3 box sets where I have 3 new novellas that are dragons. Awesome. Shapeshifter dragons. And I write IRC, so I write interracial coupling. That's my sub niche of sci-fi. Yeah. Diversity in space, if you want to call it that. And so I have those. The last one is coming out October 17th. The other one just came out September 12th. And then I had another one that came out August 10th. So they were like, boom, boom, boom. Yep. I'm going to be releasing. I had held up on one of my Dragons and Griffin series to get these done. I have Gregory from the Dragon Clan series coming out. He's going to be coming out because people have been asking, I have to purposely hold it off. But I have him scheduled for the first week of December to come out because I did a total rewrite. Then I have a little trilogy coming out of some succubi. And I don't have the working series name for them yet, but I'm hoping to get those out in November. And this is all under Michael Daniels, and Michael is spelled Mychal, Daniels with an S. And they can go to michaeldaniels.com for updates on that. And I am published wide, so yes, you can get it on the different platforms outside of Amazon, including Amazon. So what is that, 6 titles that I've got coming out? Yeah.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah, I do this full time, people. Oh, and I mean, and you know what? It's so funny because I was like, somebody's like, when are you going to set up your Patreon account? I'm doing that. I'm going to do that. Oh, I'm going to be speaking at NINC, which is Novelist Inc. You do have to be a published author to be a part of that. Yeah. I'm speaking there in early October. I'll be doing a workshop, I think, at 20 books to 50K in Las Vegas. I'll be speaking at Smarter Artist conference in February in
Wow,
Austin.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and there's another few that I'm not finalized yet that I'll hold off on saying. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But as you can tell, I have something to say.
Yes, you do. Well, so many great thoughts here. Thank you,
Yeah.
Michelle, for just taking your very valuable time and just sharing with people listening today. Right, it's just gonna help them take off in their writing career. So
Well, Lorna, I really want to tell you, I'm very humbled and thankful that you invited me to come and have a conversation with you. I always love it when I can get other authors who understand this life we lead to be willing to share their time with me. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
awesome.